Hi, this is Kim Droptiny reading Grief Opened the Door to Heaven. I'm on chapter 14, Scattering Ashes. Nearly all God's jewels are crystallized tears, unknown. My sister Jenny suggested scattering what remained of Gabe's ashes on the hill above the house where Gabe and Brianna had grown up. I agreed that it was an excellent idea because Gabe had loved our home in the hills of Washougal. However, I had no idea who the current owners of the property were or if they would even grant permission. I found their phone number in the directory and nervously dialed their home. The daughter of the owners answered the phone and told me that her parents had also lost their son a couple of years earlier. She was sure they wouldn't mind. She arranged that she would ask them and I would call later on to get their response. They were willing, so we simply drove to their home and hiked to the hill on the back of the property without seeing the owners. I was sad not to meet them. Two of my sisters, two nephews, and a friend joined us. Brianna brought along some flat rocks that she had collected and marker pens so that we could all write love notes to Gabe and place on his ashes. So before we ascended the hill, we gathered around the car and wrote our love notes. Then, with rocks in our hands, we marched single file to the top of the hill, which overlooked a gorgeous view. Snow-covered Mount Hood was off to our left, and many memories were stirred up as I gazed down upon the home John and I had contracted to be built. I could just see 5-year-old Gabe on short snow skis, just standing in the snow and singing his heart out. I saw him catching snakes and grasshoppers in the tall grass. I saw Gabe and Brianna zooming around those hills on their little blue scooter, and Gabe sitting alone in his treehouse. We poured champagne into plastic flutes and made toasts to Gabe. Afterward, we all sang the song he had written, Saved by Grace. Here's the lyrics. Saved by grace, story of my life. Guys like me are the reason you died. I don't have to try. I don't need to fight. Precious in your sight and dearly loved, a child of the King from up above. When you see me, there's only love. Bloody and bruised, you do it all again. It doesn't matter how much I sin. You have the victory, Jesus, you win. Conquering death, destroying the grave. No more chains, no longer a slave. And in your book, I see my name. On your heart, I see my name. In your eyes, there is no shame. God, your love is like a flame, exploding into a brilliant display. It melts my heart, it takes my pain. God, your love is like a fire, burns all my evil desires. It makes my heart starve for you. Brianna and I then went to the back corner of the property, and there we poured out what remained of Gabe's ashes. Tears flowed as we placed our rocks on the ashes, and one by one everyone else laid their rock to rest as well. Jacob, Conrad, and Tilo then fired off rounds from BB guns which we had brought with us. Someone yelled, "Fire!" and then they would shoot them. "Fire!" and shoot again. One of our favorite family movies was The Royal Tenenbaums, which is about a dysfunctional family that had us laughing so hard whenever we watched it. We all felt that Royal, the father in the movie, was a lot like Brianna and Gabe's dad. He had major flaws, but was also very charming. Royal dies at the end of the movie, and they give him a 21-gun salute, at his request, with BB guns. We just knew we had to do that for Gabe, and we could hear his laughter. When it was time to go, I didn't want to leave. I went back to the pile of stones and ashes and broke down weeping. It all felt so final. Then Brianna came over and we held each other. And as we sobbed, suddenly Tilo was there, enfolding us both in his arms. He said, "You are the best women I know. I don't know anyone else like you. I love you. We finally decided to leave and walk single file, this time across the top of the 5-acre property and down the opposite side. As I walked, I suddenly felt Gabe there with me, as real as I had ever felt him, and he said, "Mom, you know I'm not in those ashes. I'm here. I'm alive." I whispered, "I know, but it's still hard." Then it was as if I felt his arm go around me, and he walked with me back down that hill. In the end, it was the most perfect day I could have imagined. How wonderful that his remains were scattered in such a perfect spot, a place he had loved so much. However, that night I couldn't sleep. I cried and cried as I longed to hug Gabe and touch him. I agonized over his last month in Berlin, and Satan accused me again that had I been there for him, he would not have gone back to heroin. Jesus came to me in my deep sadness. He reminded me of my decision several months before Gabe passed to let him go and to stop rescuing him. Jesus told me that I had made the right decision. The best gift you gave to Gabe was releasing him, so he was free to come to me. Your decision was the ultimate in letting go, and it was right and good, he gently told me. The Lord always knows our hearts, and he knew that my real struggle was in thinking that I could have somehow prevented his death. I had been worrying that my decision to let go had been wrong. The Lord is such a faithful God, and he spoke directly into my fears. His voice and his truth brought peace and relief from the enemy attack. And that's the end of chapter 14. I will see you hopefully in chapter 15. May the Lord bless you.